What is the best Darkest Dungeon 2 comp in the game? Well, I've got a team comp that I would recommend to you. I consider it to be the best team comp in the game, or at least one of the best in the game, based on my personal preferences. It is a team comp that allowed me to beat every single chapter boss, and I've done this live on stream. It allowed me to beat every single lair boss. It allowed me to beat the Shambler. It allowed me to beat the Exemplar. And it allowed me to recover reliable and achieve the aforementioned with some high level of reliability, even if my trinkets were subpar. So I'm going to go through all the classes, or at least all the heroes, their paths, and recommended abilities. Now, mind you, this is a one-size-fit-all team. If you want to have something more specific in mind, or a very specific goal in mind, you may change your preferences, or the perimeters might change, and therefore you may make different decisions. But this, I would consider, is a incredibly good one-size-fit-all for me, and I hope also for you. Let's start off with everybody's favorite frontliner, and quite frankly, a mandatory pick in most team comps. Barristan. Incredible high tank, incredible high damage, incredible good stress heal, because he's one of the 2 stress healers in the game, but also being able to sustain himself, meaning less pressure on the healer for healing, means more damage. And that's good because it means enemies die quicker, means less stress and damage taken. He's an incredibly well-rounded character, and we are going to enhance that further by Vanguard. More health, more tank, and more damage, which means, as I just stated, enemies die quicker, means less damage taken, as well as less stress received. The dots might be a little troublesome in the early stages of the game, once you are still unlocking certain trinkets and such. But once you have a bunch of trinkets and a bunch of consumables, there's a multitude of ways you can deal with it, so it becomes a non-issue. Maybe through consumables, trinkets that cleanse you or empower you based on damage taken, or just running something like a runaway for cauterizing bleeds, or a plague doctor just to cleanse every dot in the game. That can help you out tremendously, so it's really not much of a non-issue. Bulwark tries to do a similar thing, but fails to do it as efficiently as Vanguard, in my opinion, and Sergeant is niche for like the Cove fight. This due to the high levels of movement resist, but the lack of damage is not something I find comfy. So it's too niche, does have its purpose, but as I said, niche. Now we're looking for a well-rounded one-size-fit-all comp, so Vanguard is the best path to do so. In terms of skills, these are the 5 that I would recommend. Crush is mandatory. It allows you to sustain with a combo point. We will be applying a lot of combo points, but also allows you to do a bunch of damage, because Vanguard buffs this all the way up to position 3, which is insane. Now, Defender, this speaks for itself, allows you to protect a unit that might be in trouble. We've all had a streak of bad luck, a bunch of crits or a bunch of stress coming onto our team. This helps you save that character and saving your run, perhaps. The mandatory stress heal, not much to say about it. Makes you tanky for a turn, can help remove some debuffs, which could be clutch, but mostly it's there for the stress heal on yourself as well as others, which is incredibly valuable. Bellow is interesting because it does allow you to remove riposte. There's a bunch of riposte effects in the game that are very annoying, like the Watchdogs or the Engard Big Knight in the Tangle. But also it allows you to remove crit tokens for cultists. Might save you some hassle. But the real reason why Bellow is also good, as opposed to being able to remove riposte, is that it's an AoE attack that counts as a hit for removing dodge tokens. For example, if you have a creature den with 4 spiders, that's 8 dodge tokens you have to chew through. He can use one ability, possibly hit and debuff some of them, but at least guaranteed remove 4 dodge tokens. It's very, very useful in that sense. And then last, but if you don't like that, if you don't like the Bellow, you could replace this with a movement skill like Rampart or Hold the Line to protect you against any kind of shovels or so, but not really mandatory. You will see in a little bit as to why. Retribution, on the other hand, is mandatory because it's just an incredibly efficient skill. Taunt 2, Riposte 2, which allows you to attack the enemy twice for 1 ability, which is really good, while also being able to protect yourself with damage once you upgrade it. It's an incredibly efficient skill and does everything you want. Tank, taunt, and do damage. Incredible. This is what I would recommend for the Man-at-Arms in your team comp. The Flagellant Damien, or I think it's Flagellant, it could be Flagellant, I'm not sure. Let's call it Flagellant. He is an incredible character, wonderful in terms of its damage output, provides us with a constant source of combo tokens, in both the front line as well as the back line, which is very, very useful. And it can heal your team, remove debuffs from your team, give them back to the enemy, and also just keeps himself alive against all odds. Also, he doesn't have meltdowns. He has a special stressor, which actually makes the enemy take more damage. And once you are comfortable with high levels of relationships, having him go crazy doesn't actually hurt you. It instead helps you, which is kind of incredible. He, however, is my flex pick. I just like the fact that he's incredibly durable and gives us a constant source of combo points. But if you don't care too much about that, you could switch this one up if you have a different favorite. Now, the path I would use for this is Maniac. Because of those aforementioned combo points, we have a lot of interaction with that. So I use Maniac to help my team and to provide those combo points. Exanimate is interesting, but I don't feel comfortable being on low health. A crit away makes the doctors get paid, I guess. It makes me have a meltdown being at low health constantly, as well as Scourge being too situational and too conditional to be of high effect. Maniac is my choice right here with these particular 5 skills, which may seem a little weird. For damage, we have Punish. With Maniac and upgrades, you get combo points consistently, a little bit of dots, as well as a wonderful, just regular hit that you can even do from 3. So if you do manage to get shuffled, there's a good chance you won't break the character. Very, very comfy. In the back line, we have Acid Rain, which allows us to provide those combo points. Remember, we have characters that can hit the back line and benefit from combo points. So Acid Rain is really, really nice for it to occasionally generate those combo points. On top of that, he can heal himself and transfer negative tokens from your allies to himself, which is very good if you're trying to avoid blinds and such. And then you can take those blinds or debuffs or vulnerabilities and then put them on the enemy and debuff them, which is very, very good. There's also certain trinkets that interact with this where you can actually apply additional debuffs on hit, because Sepsis is considered a hit for those trinkets. On top of that, I have a bit of a flex pick, Deathless. I just like this emergency heal. You never know when you have a sequence of bad crits, and having an ability to heal your team like this instantly with a good chunk can be very useful. But otherwise, you can also maybe go with more if you want to have an additional taunt tank, or perhaps even Undying, if that's more your thing. However, this is what I would personally recommend for Damien, a high sustain, healing, damage dealing, combo points providing, wonderful character. Time to go off script. Most people here would take the Grave Robber, which is an excellent choice. I can, however, not stand her. She and I never vibed, not even in Darkest Dungeon 1. The Jester, however, has some incredible support tools that make her, in my opinion, obsolete. The path I would recommend is Virtuoso. More health, so he's actually quite durable, and more speed, which allows him to go first, which might be very important. Yes, he does deal, or does take some more dots, but there's trinkets, consumables, and of course characters that deal with that, while also providing the occasional 100% stress res, which is incredible. But his skills is where he really shines, obviously. These are the 5 I would recommend. Starting off with Razor's Wit. Forward 1 provides combo point. This is very nice if you are in position 4 and you want to go to position 3, as this will allow you to also generate dodge tokens. Now yes, he's tankier, but also can provide dodge tokens from himself, making him very difficult to kill, while doing damage and providing combo tokens. Now, same thing with Fade to Black. This is typically what I open up with, ironically, because it is a damage dealing ability with some decent crit that allows you to move back when upgraded, and allows you to provide combo points as well as a blind. An incredible, valuable skill. Damage, debuff, and combo point, all in one ability. It also allows you to move backwards. If you get shuffled, you can just keep debuffing the enemy, applying combo points, and moving yourself in position. Very, very useful. Now, Battle Ballad is a bit of a flex pick, but occasionally I do think it's useful to maybe allow somebody to move forward if I cannot get myself backwards in time, depending on the initiative order. Considering the forward one and the damage bonus, while also potentially having a crit if you upgrade it, fairly solid, but a flex pick. What isn't a flex pick is the Inspiring Tune, the other stress heal, which is better for single target and also removes horror, So just always very good to have. This allows me, together with Barristan, to keep my team at low stress, even through the most heinous of fights, and just makes me very, very relaxed. Now, Encore seems like a weird thing because you make yourself give your turn up for someone else. But this is incredibly strong because you don't lose an action. You just essentially exchange an action with someone else. So for example, if you have something in the back line that's very frustrating, you might be able to give Encore to your position 4 and allow them to nuke twice. Or perhaps in the front line, you want to be able to get a taunt in first before the enemy goes. You can do Encore, taunt, the enemy can't reach you. There are so many ways to utilize this. Or perhaps an emergency heal. The healer goes into the back line because they unfortunately got dazed and you need an emergency heal. Encore them. They get an extra action, they can get the heal done. There are so many ways you can use this effective that it makes a mandatory pick and an incredible tool in your arsenal if you use it wisely. So this is what I would recommend. Combo point, damage, stress heal, and movement skills that allow your team to get into position if you get shuffled, which does happen quite frequently due to increased loathing or certain enemies, especially in the cove, that can push you around, which is very, very frustrating. You never know, but this is what I would recommend. Incredible character. Last but not least, position 4 with the Plague Doctor. In my opinion, one of the best reliable healers in the game. Doesn't have a situational strength boost like the Vestal has, nor does her heal have a point where it can backfire like the Occultist. It's just a strong heal that can deal or cleanse every single dot. The Blight, the Bleed, and the Burn. An incredible tool, while also being able to do an incredible large amount of dot damage on position 1 and 2, or nuke 3 and 4 with an AoE hit, as well as Corpse Clear that also count as a 1 to 4 AoE dot that you can even amp up with certain trinkets for ridiculous amounts of damage. An incredible character that I would recommend running with Alchemist Path. Now she's in position 4 and she's going to be our blighter, so the res piercing is incredible. The crit is nice but not really mandatory. Her high bonus to resistances makes it so that she basically doesn't have to heal herself or cure herself, and suffers very rarely from debuffs, which makes her very consistent. She ends up being a little squishy due to the minus health, but she already has a relatively low health pool, so that debuff isn't all that severe. And besides of that, we also have access to Damien healing in case of emergencies, while also having the defender options and the taunts from Barristan to draw aggro away from her towards him. So she ends up being quite safe in that backline. May she be shuffled through 3 or 4. So I would recommend Alchemist. Surgeon is more of a melee thing, and we are not meleeing. And Physician is a utility thing that reduces the blight damage, which I think is just a waste. In terms of skills, these are the 5 that I would recommend. The mandatory Noxious Blast, incredibly high damage on position 1 and 2, with piercing if you have a combo point. So that's pretty much all the time anyway, as we are constantly generating these combo points. Very reliable damage. It can stack up to ridiculous amounts. The mandatory heal, of course, it's a wonderful heal that cures all dots while also curing her own dots if she happens to hit those or have those with her high resistance, which happens rarely if you upgrade it, which is very, very nice, while also increasing the heal itself. Incredible. Ounce of Prevention is the flex pick. I just like it occasionally for certain fights, like certain occultists and such, or if I just have a dead mood. But you could also run anything else, like Emboldening Vapors if you want to crank someone's damage up, or maybe Indiscriminate Scientist for more damage, or perhaps even Blinding Gas for some control, which allows you to extend the fight perhaps a little bit more, and then allows you to perhaps get another heal in, another stress heal in. Who knows? You have some options. I just run Ounce of Prevention because there's a very lovely trinket that sometimes I combo with it, and also I can prevent myself from getting diseases in certain creature fights. Very frustrating if that happens. Plague Grenade, however, is a mandatory one. What I like to do, especially with the Jester's Encore, is just double Plague Grenade on occultist backlines and such and just ruin their day. But other than that, it's an incredibly high damage dot in the backline, which is phenomenal. I don't have to explain that to you if you have ever fought against certain team comps like those occultists or anything like it that has strong units in the backline. Very frustrating if you can't deal with them. And then the Magnesium Rain is a Clear Corpse skill, which is very, very useful if the front line happens to die before the back line. while also providing you with a 3 burn on an AoE skill, which can be useful if you're just trying to preserve someone so that you can still get a heal in, but still want to make sure they die by adding another dot on them if they're on death's door, which is very, very clutch if you can abuse that for sustain. But that is pretty much it for me. This is the exact comp with every single path and skill that allowed me to beat chapter 1 through 5, all the lair bosses, the Shambler, the Exemplar, all the good stuff. And this is what I would recommend. I think it is very difficult to not be successful with this comp if you can pull it off even half as efficient as the average person does. So good luck, have fun, hopefully this helped. Make sure to hit the like button if it does, and I will see you guys on Twitch or in the next video. I'm out.